last Sunday I was getting ready to do platform, just like Reverend Kay did today. And I was remembering Saturday nights when I was growing up as a minister's kid. And of course, when you're the minister's kid in the minister's family, Saturday night is a big deal. Everybody had to take their baths and do their hair and fix everything up. So look, just perfect for church. And to this day, I still get dressed up for church, just as a way of showing reverence for what we do here. And church was a big deal, and especially when you're the minister's family, like my dad would come in and he'd be sitting in his recliner and we'd all be gathered around and he would read off his talk, and then my mom would edit it for him. She'd say, well, that's just, you're not getting Harry Belafonte enough. You have to, get more emotional, make it more exciting and more interesting and so on and so forth, because my dad tended to be more of an intellectual. And there would be great discussions, especially when it came to the big holidays. Like, we had to be sure that, like, at Christmas time, we wanted to make sure that there were instructions that all the lights in the church would go out at the end, and that everybody would have candles, and that there'd just be one flute in the back of the church just to recall the majesty of what those shepherds must have felt on the fields, looking up at the stars and the angels coming and telling them to go to Bethlehem. And so much of church was about creating that environment of the holy and the sacred, and having reverence for the holy and the sacred, for what we thought of as the universe or spirit or God. How many started out their childhood going to church or synagogue or temple in this room? All right, almost everybody. Those were all outward signs of the holy and the sacred and the reverence. And especially in the Episcopal Church, just even the liturgy alone was really beautiful. And I still, on Tuesday nights, there's a church up in where my sister lives, that they broadcast a service of Compline, which is like evening prayer. And I listen in on that because it's beautiful and it's still, and it's an opportunity to step away from the rest of my life and just be quiet for a while. There was good things and bad things about all of that. I think for one thing, we were brought up to look on religion and spirituality as something that was external. And so we really depended on the candles and the acolytes and the flowers and whatever, sort of to create that feeling of sacredness for us. And then you think of the great cathedrals and the great temples that were built. I know Linda just came back from Europe, and I bet you saw your share of beautiful, incredible buildings. And I myself will never forget the first time I walked in, and I know I've told this story before, the first time I ever walked into Chartres, which is one of the few great cathedrals built in the 12th century, totally untouched by the Second World War, and built on a very sacred, a space that was sacred way before Christianity. And it was sunset, and there was, as you walked into the door, a side door, there was gloom. It was dark, because these walls had been exposed to so many centuries of candles that they were all dark. And suddenly you would look up and you would see this vista of incredible color, translucent color, of the setting sun coming through this beautiful, beautiful, all these shades of blue and red and gold and green, beautiful stained glass. And you certainly felt, tears came to my eyes. I had studied about cathedrals from the point of view of architecture, but there's nothing like walking into a building like that. And yet at the same time, these buildings were built really in many ways to consolidate the power of those who controlled the church over the world. You look at the Vatican, a whole museum of trophies from wars that were fought to promote Christianity. So the sacred, there's just so many, the sacred and the holy, holy relics. You know, all of these words are highly charged. So I really sort of paused when I was thinking about this, but I don't know, God just sent that through and that's what I'm supposed to be talking about today. I was reading a book, it's a fairly new published book, it's called Soul Boom. You know, we have all these different booms there. Well, this is talking about why we need a spiritual revolution at this particular point in time. And we are the seeds of that very revolution, which is really sort of interesting to know. And when it comes to the holy and the sacred, if somebody from traditional religion walked in and observed this room, they'd say, look at these people, they're just sitting around on folding chairs and where's all the fancy stuff and where's all that glory and where's all that majesty and yet we know that it's here. And this book, in the early parts of this book, made a really wonderful metaphor about who we are and why we're here that I wanted to share with you today because I think it really sort of nailed it on the head. In metaphysical thought, often we hear people stand up here and they'll say, well, we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience and this is earth school. And I think sometimes when we come here and we listen to speakers, it's very easy for that just to be an intellectual exercise. Oh, we're here in earth school and we're learning things. I believe we're here in a spiritual boot camp. There is not one person in this room that hasn't been touched by loss. There's not one person who hasn't gone through things like a terrible boss or a terrible job that you really hated to be in. There's not one of us who at one point or another might have been in emotional distress or experiencing anxiety, serious illnesses, sadness, and just simply annoying people, bullies, people who cut in front of you in line or cut you off on Highway 270, all those kinds of challenges. And why, if this is, you know, a spiritual place, why is there all of that? Why is it so hard? Kindness, cheerfulness, enthusiasm, courage, serenity, faith, humility, empathy. Those experiences are giving us those special qualities. And that by walking around in this world, even with those challenges, and developing the patience, the generosity, the creativity, the enthusiasm, the courage, we are living examples for others. We are inspirations for other people. In fact, we are the blessed place where God shows up. We are the place where others can be inspired to lead more peaceful, more kind, more loving lives. And it's the same thing for this particular spiritual community. The holiness and the sacredness for us doesn't come from the outside trappings. Here we have a place where people who are tall and short, skinny and plump, different sizes, different races, different sexual and gender identities, ethnic backgrounds, all sorts of differences. We come and we mix and we mingle, and we talk about the weather, and we talk about whether the Cardinals are winning and losing, and we have our occasional potluck suppers or potluck lunches together, and we talk about the weather, but also the deep meaning of life. We have trivia nights, all those kinds of things to look forward to. At the same time, we are building for each other the example and the resilience and the caring for each person in this room, as well as what we take beyond this room to all the other people in our lives. So for today, just remember to bring the holy and the sacred and all of that. It's inside each one of us. And the way we can really be in touch with that is how we express it in the world. If somebody cuts you off on 270 today, bless them, because they're probably anxious and worried about getting someplace on time. Start the day tomorrow consciously. Do something to remember your spiritual nature, whether it's to light a candle or an incense and be still for a little bit, or to read something that's inspirational. But start the day with a conscious intent and with remembering your spiritual nature. Watch a sunrise or a sunset. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, but I know that Reverend Laurel and Sue have been posting some beautiful, beautiful things on Facebook. Pictures that they take or inspiring sayings. Along with Reverend Kay and Lena, there's all kinds of things. That's one of the things I love about Facebook. And TikTok. Have reverence for your own personal space. Look around your own surroundings. Are you treating that as your sacred space? Or is it just a collection of stuff? Call someone that you haven't seen in a while. Take action on what you want to create. But above all, your mission is to be an inspiration for others, because you have gone through the sadness. You have gone through the challenges. You've gone through the illnesses. Whatever it is, whatever challenge, you can be an inspiration for someone else. So today the affirmation is, the sacred light that I seek is expressing as me. I listen for it, I feel it, and I act on it. You are the sacred, blessed place where God shows up.